The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. You restore my soul, O Lord, and guide me along right pathways for your name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup is running over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23 is rich with symbols and imagery throughout the psalm. From the idea of lying down in green pastures or being led beside still waters, to the valley of the shadow of death, that table being set in the midst of enemies or that cup running over, this psalm can draw us into a tangible experience of God through those images. And we know that that is how our brains and our minds oftentimes work, is through the images and symbols we see in our day-to-day lives. I'm recording this on Tuesday, March 23rd, the day after the horrific shooting that took place in the King Soopers in Boulder. As we saw images again of a mass shooting, we were filled with those same images of fear and terror. In one of the press conferences just this morning, you heard someone invoke Psalm 23 in that image of the shadow, of the valley of the shadow of death. We know where our minds go in moments like this. They go to places of suffering and pain and fear, but yet for us as people of faith, we have many images and symbols to hold on to guide us back into prayer, so that we may hold on to hope and encourage and experience God's presence with us in the midst of these tragedies. And so for this final prayer practice during this season of Lent, in the midst of yet another tragedy, I invite you today to pray with an image or a symbol, to practice simply closing your eyes or keeping your eyes open and gazing upon a certain image that is in your mind. Now, you could use the words from Psalm 23 today. You could imagine God being with you and helping you to encounter that place of peace and rest in a green meadow or beside some still waters. You could imagine that valley of the shadow of death in whatever form that may take in your prayer life. And you may even include images of other traumas or places of death that you may have encountered in your life. And you may invite God into those places to be able to be with you today. You may think about perhaps even your cup, your being, whether it may be empty or half full or half empty, or maybe running over, as the psalm may say, and invite God to be with you in whatever state you may find yourself. Or perhaps to go beyond Psalm 23, you may choose one of our other images or symbols that we use in our life of faith. Just like the valley of the shadow of death, the cross is that image that brings us both into death and new life. The cross and Jesus' crucifixion invites us to embrace those images of suffering that we encounter in our lives or in the lives of others in our communities. But it also invites us to remember the hope we have that God is with us in our suffering and in the tragedies that take place in our lives. Or perhaps you could use a candle and come back to that place of light and darkness, and to know even in these moments of darkness in our lives and in the lives of our communities, that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness will not overcome it. Or perhaps you have another image or another symbol that means something to you. Today, for this prayer practice, simply hold that image in your mind or gaze upon it with your eyes open, and invite God in the midst of the silence, in the midst of your meditation with that image or symbol, to invite God to be with you and to speak to you and to provide comfort in whatever place you may find yourself today. Thank you for being with us during this Lenten season, for engaging in these different prayer practices, and for the opportunity to together return to God in this season of Lent, trusting that God is with us in our sorrows, in our pain, in these collective moments of trauma and suffering and death. And yet God is with us and will bring light, will bring joy, and will continue to bring hope to us as God's people, as people of the resurrection, as people who will celebrate new life on Easter. May God's peace be with you.
Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. God is my shepherd, so nothing shall I want. I rest in the meadows of faithfulness and love. I walk by the quiet waters of peace. Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. Gently you raise me and heal my weary soul. You lead me by pathways of righteousness and truth. My spirit shall sing the music of your name. Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. Though I should wander the valley of death, I fear no evil, for you are at my side. Your rod and your staff, my comfort and my hope. Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. You have set me a banquet of love in the face of hatred, crowning me with love beyond my power to hold. Shepherd me, O God, beyond my wants, beyond my fears, from death into life. Surely your kindness and mercy follow me all the days of my life. I will dwell in the house of my God forevermore. Shepherd me,